Commissioners, are we ready to go?
Sure.
I believe it is 5 o'clock, and I will call this meeting to order. Today is May 10, 2022. Does anyone want a recommendation for approval of minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say
Aye.
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 aye. Communications from the audience. Do you have anyone here who wants to talk about anything that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll move to new business, since there is no old business. And the first item, which will require a public hearing, is 216 Van Rolte Avenue, special land use request for the establishment of Marina at the west side of Boatworks Restaurant. And the application, I believe, is here. It's Craig Smith.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Let us know who you are and where you
Craig
live.
Smith.
Yes.
I'm COO of Redwater Restaurant Group out of Grand Rapids. We purchased Boatworks a number of years ago, and we have just continued to develop the property. You know, I think the last time the document states that we came in, we were looking to add on to the patio and develop the canopy on the back to make it more comfortable outside, which we did, and it's turned out very nice, we think. We continue to see that, especially with the last 2 or 3 years of outdoor activities, boating traffic has picked up. And we saw a lot more boats wanting to come to our restaurant, but what we always heard was, well, you have so few spots, we don't know if we can have a place to park, or dock, I should say.
Sure.
And so we took a look at that a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago, put a plan together, went to Eagle. Eagle approved our plan. I know they notified the city in 2020 about that plan. City clerk received it and was approved by the city clerk. In terms of what a process you go through, I'm not sure. And so we went ahead and developed the docks. I think the question now is, how can they be used? And we felt they could probably be used for day use, which would be the majority of the dock space. There would be some docks that would sit permanently throughout the summer, but just a limited number of those. And then looking at whether we're classified as a marina or not, that I think was the question we were a bit unclear on. So I think that came through in the notes that you all received and I received.
Yes. Okay. Does that sort of outline?
Is that-
Yeah,
Give a good background?
Yeah, so I
Okay,
just
so
wanted to
no other
clarify
questions.
that these are already built,
Yes,
right? Okay.
Okay, so
they are. We didn't mean to sidestep the process. We thought once we got approval from Eagle and that the city had, however, it was notified to the city clerk twice. There was also a public hearing for our boat dock request by Eagle, of which no one made any comments. We assumed that it was okay to proceed. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
And this is day use only, you said?
I'm sorry?
Day use only for these docks?
Yeah, in terms of day use, yes. Boats would stay overnight, no one else would. It's not, again, a marina is considered a place where people can sleep overnight, and
right.
we're not looking for that.
No camping on the
No
water?
camping allowed.
Okay.
there you go.
But they can park it overnight?
Yes.
Okay, so if they were to stay at a hotel or something downtown,
Mhm.
maybe?
Yeah, or if they just drove to their boat, parked their car, drove away, but they can do that too.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Okay, now, these are not people just coming for dinner. These are folks who own a slip at the restaurant, or however.
Yeah, both,
however you
yeah, it would be a
define
combination of both. The majority of the space would be transient day use,
Sure.
people pulling up, eating, pulling back out, going back to their own personal docks. There'd be a number of docks that we would like to, lease out for the summertime only. Those boats would stay overnight,
Okay.
but no one would be staying on the boats.
And I did not notice anything about parking for those docks. And being a boater, I know, when I was driving, I'd drive to wherever the boat was parked and leave my car.
Question is?
Have you I didn't see anything in the plans that talked about parking
Okay.
for those
Well,
rented
we
slips.
have lots of parking at Boatworks, and then we also share a parking lot between the park next door and our area. Even if you looked at, say, 10 boats were leased, 10 spots were leased, the chances of even 5 of them being there at the same time, which would be 5 additional cars, is not much. All the other boaters will be coming on their boat and leaving on their boat, so we're not really adding much to the parking need whatsoever, as I see it.
Okay. And I guess I can ask the city, is there any requirements for marina parking?
Yeah, so a marina, maybe I'll just back up and kind of just go
Sure,
through a
sure.
couple comments and maybe hit on those too, if that helps.
Sure.
So, yes, they want to add what we're calling the 7 finger docks on the west side. And then they would essentially, and they already have, right, relocated the other floating dock onto the east side of the property. So the way I guess I've kind of used it in terms of numbers is there was approximately 11 boat parking spaces out there, adding 14, so there'd be 25 spaces out there. So we determined this to be a marina because of the request to be able to rent 6 to 10 of the slips is what they have indicated, and then have the overnight stay. So recognizing that, a marina use could be a lot of different things and a lot of different levels. And when you look at our ordinance, we do talk about a lot of the other things that you might normally think of in terms of a marina, boat storage and, bathroom facilities and some of those sorts of things. So clearly they're not proposing to do any of that. They've indicated there's no service to the boats. They've already indicated they're not allowing anybody to stay overnight on the boat. So, but I guess my point is, we believe once they cross that threshold of renting some of the slips and doing the overnight stay, that they became a marina, at least in our eyes. So really, there's 2 things that you're being asked to approve tonight. One is the site plan change, which is the sort of the relocated floating dock and the new finger docks on the west side. That's the change to the site plan. This isn't a PUD, so any changes have to come back through you guys. And then the marina use. And I guess I'm wanting to make sure we're clear that when we say marina use, that we're not gonna be giving an approval of a blanket to do any and all marina things. It's what they're asking for, what's in their application, that you would be approving. So those are the 2 things that you're being asked to approve tonight. In terms of marina parking, the planning commission, the approving authority, can set that parking. When we look at Udo in terms of the restaurant and the parking, I think I put in the report, they're required to have 90 spaces. There's 91 spaces available on their property. There is some parking off property that they also have access to, sort of that extension of Van Raalte over by the catering business is actually off of their property. They have access to use some of that parking. And then they do have the ability to use that closest parking lot in Collin Park. They actually built that. It doesn't give them exclusive rights to use that, but we couldn't prohibit them from parking on there. So there is some additional parking available to them to answer the question about how we deal with the marina parking.
So, asking maybe a follow-up question to the use, you had mentioned when you were alluding to maybe the need for additional parking or additional boat parking because of the increase in boat traffic and people wanting to come to the restaurant via boat. Looking at the total numbers, it looks like if you were to have 10 dedicated slip spots for overnight, that really only gives you an add of 4. So what would be
I think it's
the,
14. I think you said there was 24.
well, no, an add from what
Oh,
you have
add.
right now from 11 slips, you would have roughly, up to 15 slips of public use. So talk a little bit about what's driving maybe the desire for overnight boat parking and why that's kind of driving this element of it forward.
I think probably there's a little bit of miss on some of the parking because the front piece of the, of Boatworks could also be used for boats along the front, not just the two side docks,
Right.
which have been used in the past. I think what's driving it is, I think the relationship of boaters to downtown Holland, boaters to our facility, and just the need for boat space.
Okay.
We happen to be involved in a project that we own down in Saugatuck, and we've learned over the last couple of years, there are not boat slips available. They don't exist. So I think the ability to get more boaters in the water and have them be on Lake Macatawa is a very positive thing. That's what we were thinking.
Steve, can I ask a question? So that extra parking, that is Collin Park, if somebody were to park overnight and leave their vehicle, is that an issue for the city, or is that parking allowed overnight, car parking?
That's a good question. I guess I'm not sure about overnight parking in the park.
Yeah, I don't
If
think
that's
it's.
permitted, I'm not sure about that.
I'm not completely sure either, but I want to say it's probably, if I had to say, I'd say it's probably not allowed because the park, I think, closes technically. So I think the parking areas have to be cleaned out, but
Vacant, yeah.
we could check with that and get back with you, but
Yeah, I just hated if somebody was paying money to have the slip for the summer and then they park their vehicle in one of those extra lots because there's no space and then they get towed or ticketed or something like
well,
that.
we could certainly check up on that for their benefit. So if they do have those folks, then they know they got to park
In our
on
lot.
property.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
could insist, or not insist, but let them know that
Yeah,
they need to park on our property.
yeah. It'd just probably be good to clarify
That's a
that.
good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Sounds like we still have questions in our minds about parking, but, and maybe some more of this will be
Yeah, I just don't
discussed.
see that parking is, again, that big of an issue. We're not talking about many overnight boats, and the odds of them all being there at the same time are probably never going to happen. I'd say never, but I doubt it will happen very often, that you'd have 10 additional cars.
What's the approach towards making sure that people don't, start sleeping in their boats overnight or anything like that, like making sure that that's actually
Yeah, so
upheld?
we have security cameras around the whole perimeter. We have gates that lock. You've been over there, the gates lock at night once we close the restaurant. And it would be our manager's job before they lock people in to make sure that they check that side of the building too. Like we check the whole building. We have to check the whole perimeter every night before we lock it, so we don't
Okay.
lock people in.
Okay.
We do the same thing here.
Okay.
And we have security cameras also. But the gates lock when the restaurant locks.
Okay. Well, that sounds like we have the issue in hand. This does require a public hearing, so if do commissioners have any more questions? Okay.
Just one question, in terms of those, boat slips you're gonna rent, is that something that's gonna be open to the general public? How are you going to be able to, like you said, the need is there, so how do you foresee?
Yeah, it's
You
really
sold those
been, at
slips.
this point, a little bit word of mouth. But we're not opposed to, if we were approached by someone that felt they would like to have one, we would be happy to talk to anyone. Wouldn't matter who it is.
Once we, I think this is a question for Steve. If we approve this as a marina, and the owner is proposing 6 to 10, but if it's a marina, you could rent as many as you wanted, is that?
Yeah, so I guess I'd say I would leave that up to you guys. It was my thought that you would only approve what they were asking for,
Okay.
and that if they wanted to make any changes, expand other things, overnight staying, that they would have to come back. But
Okay,
I guess I would leave that up to you,
Yeah, I
if
think-
you wanted to expand
Yeah.
on that now.
I mean, it seems like if there are concerns about parking, it would be a good idea to limit that to what
They're asking.
the
Sure.
applicant is
Mhm.
requesting.
And
We'd,
this is,
if that's the case, we'd request 10.
Okay.
and this is a PUD too. It's not like we're changing the zoning where they can just, once we change it, it's done. It's a planned unit development. If they go to change something, we have to approve it.
Correct.
So we do have control a little bit more than if it's like a zoning change where we did a couple, it would just be like, all right, it's a marina, do whatever you want,
Right.
No.
Being a
Okay.
planned unit development, we have a little more control.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will open the public hearing. Thank you. Okay. Okay, officially open the public hearing. And the item on the, to discuss is the special land use request to establish a marina as defined in the documents attached. Any comments or questions from individuals in the audience? Come up and to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is Ed Hyssop. I live at 237 Van Rolte. I have a few concerns. The docks that they built are very well built. I'm not sure if there's enough ladders along there. If somebody were to fall off the boat and not make it to the dock, that they could climb up. The other thing is, if somebody is on the boat and the gate gets locked, how emergency are going to get to them if they didn't get off the boat in time or somebody stayed on the boat? That's an issue as well. Also, the way the docks are designed, they're a beam of everybody going by Boatworks, which there's no sign. You got to be 300 feet away, and that's a pretty heavy-weight area. It comes in what used to be called Shallow Point, and it can really rock you crazy. Now, the east side is really good because you can turn your boat in there, you can face out, and it breaks the waves coming in. So I've been in every marina from here to Mackinac City, and Mackinac City is the only one that doesn't have parking for your boat, car parking for your boat. So there's usually at least one. They may think about having designated spots for those people, for those slips. Because if you're gonna pay $2,000 for a slip, I would think that you'd want a kind of a designated spot.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Let's see. I guess I will officially close the public hearing. Open it up to discussion by the commissioners.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could, if a couple of those questions could be answered about the, I don't know anything about marinas, so ladders and I think we did approve a no-wake zone for that area, I think, correct?
Is that marked?
Yeah, they will be putting up marked, it's certainly at the public lots, so this is a really good question to see if they could mark that as a no-wake zone there.
We could certainly find out about
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure,
Yeah, that'd be great.
how that needs to be done.
Right.
In terms of, some of the, certainly with the ladder and just the, I guess I'll say the little bay itself, this has already been reviewed and approved by the state. And so I guess I would say those things are probably addressed there, as well as our own inspections department in terms of the actual construction of it. In terms of the security aspect of somebody getting locked in, I guess we had heard earlier, it sounded like they were gonna have a little process where they close up at night, so that would be avoided, I guess, was my response to those questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion if someone wants to make one, defining exactly what we want to say here.
Do they need to be two, do you need two, or can they?
You could certainly do it together. I just think maybe as you do the marina, it would just probably be important to reiterate kind of, as we said earlier, that you would be, if you wanted to, approve what they were asking for rather than just a blank marina,
Sure.
I guess is my suggestion. But you could do it all as one if you want to.
Somebody needs to make that motion.
This one, we need the mayor here.
I know. The specifics of the wording.
So I'll make a motion to approve the revised site plan to allow for the new docks, as well as the relocated floating docks, and then also to approve the special land use to allow for marina use up to 10 boat parking spots for overnight boat parking, but no on-boat sleeping.
Could I add a friendly amendment, as described in the document presented?
As described in the document presented.
Do I have a
Support.
second?
Support.
Okay. Why don't we do a roll call?
Sure. So the motion is to approve Bosch,
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Orm,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Genova,
Yes.
DeBlock.
Yes.
Motion to approve passes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could check on that signage, that would be, you know, about the no-wake zone and all
Yep.
that, that would be great.
Mhm. Okay, well, thank you. Communications and petitions. Do we have any schedule for public hearings? No. Anything on the docket for next month?
We do have some stuff on the docket for next month, so don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We do have a few already, and I did have one other thing, if I could.
Sure, the 5-year master plan review?
Yeah, so we're still working on the redevelopment ready community process, so we're kind of wrapping up the last few items. One of the things that they asked for, you recall back in November during our sort of goal setting session, we kind of went over the master plan action items, calling that our 5-year review, if you will. And so they just simply asked that we have some sort of note in the master plan to recognize that. So Mallory was able to figure out how to edit the cover page, and so you can see it on here. We're just suggesting that we have that 5-year review completed November 9, 2021. So I just didn't want to make that change without you guys seeing that. So if that looks all right, we'll just have that be our new cover page, and then we'll be able to submit that to the state to get that off of the list. So
Looks good.
Looks
that
good.
look all right?
Mhm.
Yep. It's a
Super.
little off kilter, but it's
Okay,
Thank you, Mallory.
okay,
Thank you.
yes. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say bye.
Bye.
Yay, tulip time.